Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters and welcome to my craft room. Today we are going to craft using the Papercraft Society and this is box number 31. It's inspired by the craft stash designer Lou Withers, and the products inside this box I have an unboxing. It'll be listed down below if you'd like to see everything that came in the box. It's in co with the Mental Health UK, which is always a good thing. So let's go ahead and get on to the first of the 3 cards that we're going to make today. So this card is going to be a 5x7 card, and I have a ready-made 5x7 card base here. You can make one yourself. All you need is a piece of 10x7 cardstock, and on the long side score it at 5, and that'll give you a 5x7 card. On top of that I have some mats and layers. I have this piece of pink cardstock from my stash, and this piece measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. I then have taken a piece of pattern paper from the kit, and this piece measures 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. So this will be the front. We'll embellish the front as well with a sentiment. We'll get to that later on. So inside this card I want to do a pop-up piece, and I want it to look like little bricks. This is going to be a baby card. So in order to do that I have some pieces here. So first of all I have this piece. It measures 9 3/4 by 6 3/4. We need to do some scoring on this. So I'll get out my scoring tool. So on the long side we're going to score this at 3 1/2. We're going to score it at 4 7/8. We're going to score it at 6 1/4. And that's our scoring for this side. What we want to do now is we want to fold and burnish our score line, and I'm going to do it on the middle score line. So I'm going to put this up like so and fold it over and burnish that. And now with the closed end, you can see this is how it looks. I'm going to turn it around this end so it's like a tent, and this end here we're going to put up into our scoreboard. I want to do some score lines along here, but I'm only going to come down as far as this score line here. So our first score line is going to be at 1/2 inch, and we're going to go all the way down to that score line, and I'm pressing hard. This cardstock is 270 GSM, so I'm pressing hard. I want it to come through to the other side. Our next score line is at 1 3/4, and then at 2, and then 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 4 3/4, 5, and 6 1/4. And that'll leave us then with 1/2 inch. So we have 1/2 inch at the top and the bottom, and then we have 1/4 inches between. We're going to do some cutting now. We're going to cut along each of our score lines. So let's go ahead and do that next. So I'm taking my scissors. You want to pinch this really well when you're cutting the cardstock. You don't want it to kind of move, or sometimes cardstock can kind of move like this when you're cutting, and you don't want that. You want to make sure that you're cutting it right the whole way through. So we're cutting through the 2 layers. Start on the first one, and I'm cutting right up the score line to the first score line there. and then the next one. I'm going to speed up this piece now of me cutting up each of the score lines, because you don't need to see me doing this really slowly, but each of them I'm cutting up just up to that score line there at just above my scissors. Lovely. And then the final one. And once we have that done, then we have some cut lines between the two. Next, I want to press all these into valleys. So this is a valley, this is a mountain. So our next one in between is going to be a valley. Then our large area will be a mountain. The next one will be a valley and a mountain, a valley, a mountain, and a valley. And then we're going to press on these score lines now. So I'm folding this towards me, so this will become a valley, and I'm going to do the same with this one. This will become a valley, and you can see now, once we press our little pieces back in, we will have this shape. So our card needs to close over like so. And this then will sit into our card base. It's going to sit in here like so. So now what we need to do is embellish this part. I thought that this would be really cool to put little matte layers so they look like little building blocks. So we'll do that next. We're going to have a look at the rest of our mats and layers that we need for this. So we need 2 pieces to go either side. So I have 2 white pieces, and these measure 3 1/4 by 6 1/2, and they'll go either side here and here. And then I have a strip of my pattern paper which was left over from the piece that we cut for the front of our card. This piece measures 1 1/4 by 6 1/2, and that's going to go here. And I thought I'd leave room here so that for the baby's name I might be able to die cut out the letters for the name and put the name there. Then I have this piece, which is another offcut. It measures 3 1/4 by 1 1/4, and this piece will go on the bottom here. And then I have cut out 8 white squares. These are all 1 inch by 1 inch. I took a die set from my stash and I die cut out the letters, and my letters make up the word baby girl. So once I had die cut out the letters, I stuck them down onto my 1 inch by 1 inch squares. Then I took a fine liner. I got a set of these. They're all different colors, and I got them in my local Mr. Price. They're just a fine liner. The name on it is Pro Scribe. If I can find links down in Amazon or something like that, I will leave them down below in the description. But this marker is so close in color to the matte layer that I've used, and all I've done is I've gone all around the outside and put little dashes. So these pieces then will sit in here. So we'll have B-A-B-Y and then G-I-R-L. So it's just a matter of assembling our card now. So why don't we go ahead and do that? So I'm just going to glue down all my little mats and layers and patterned paper pieces onto their little pieces, and then we'll be ready to assemble the inside. So I want to put glue on all these little pieces, and before I do, I want to burnish over all my score lines. I want them to be nice and creased well. So I'm putting the glue down here on this one side, and I'm making sure to do the little 1/4 inch pieces there in between as well. We want to bring up those pieces so they sit just next to our score line. And when we close over the card blank, like I'm doing now, if you have a look underneath, just make sure that the white border all around your pink piece is the same size. So again, I'll add the glue now onto the other side. And I find the Collall glue is great. It'll give great strength to our card. And again, I'm checking to make sure that there's an even white border all around that, and that my corners there are right into the corner of the card. So now I'm going to leave that for the glue to set and harden, and while that's happening, I can be gluing the front of my card mats onto my card base. Now I'm moving inside, and I'm going to add my little letters or my imitation block faces, and put them onto each side. So I'm doing BABY on one side and then the GIRL on the other. You could put boy on this. You could have like a little balloon or a little image of a bear or something, and then do BOY for that. Okay, so now I have my piece that I want to put a sentiment on and a place to write a message. So I'm using the ink, the Papercraft Society ink that came in the kit. The sentiments that I'm using here are from my stash, and again the same with this one. This is a Christmas sentiment, sugar and spice and everything nice. But sure, isn't that what they say little girls are? Sugar and spice and all things nice. And little boys are, oh, I forget what the rhyme is, but they're frogs and toads, and I can't remember now. I just remember the little girl part because I had 3 girls, so that's how I remember. I had some Papercrafts Society buttons that I got in a previous kit in my stash, and I thought I would embellish the front of the card with them. I was going to put some inside, but I decided against it. I have a little punch that punches out little hearts, so using the same cardstock that I used for my mats, I'm going to add a couple to the front of my card. I'll put 3 around the sugar and spice sentiment, and then 3 inside as well. Then all I'm going to do is take a Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and I'm going to embellish my hearts, my die cut letters with my sparkle pen. So when it catches the light, it's lovely. It gives a little sparkle. So that's our first card using our Papercraft Society box 31. You can use any products that you have in your stash to make this card. Now I'm going to move on to card number 2. This card base is again a 5x7 card base. You can make one using a piece of 10x7 and on the 10-inch side score at 5. For this, I also have a piece of 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 white cardstock. This matte layer will actually be the front of our card. And I have one of the sheets of the pattern paper. I have cut this straight across just above the 2 circles. I want to fussy cut them out. And that's the only reason I cut my paper to that length, because I simply wanted to take some of those because they're on the paper that you can see above it. So I want to embellish the front of my card using these, and because they have an uneven edge, you don't even have to be particularly clever about it. So on the matte layer here, I'm just putting an angle at the front. I want to be able to cut out a wedge so you can see some of our pattern paper behind it. So from the top left hand side, I've come down 2 inches. On the right hand side, I've come down 3 1/4 inches, and I've drawn a line between the two. On the bottom, from the bottom left, I have marked up, just want to check that, it's just under 4 inches, and I have come across again about 4 inches, and I have cut across there, and you can see how I'm doing that then with my paper trimmer. Once I have those pieces cut, then I'll be able to then put my pattern piece of paper behind these two. So I'm going to place my patterned piece of paper behind the white cardstock that will be at the bottom left, and then I can add my white piece to the top, ensuring that I have the same size border going all around. It's 1/4 of an inch border going around there, so it's actually 1/8 of an inch border going all the way around. So that's how our card will look. It's just a matter of gluing it all down now. I do get asked regularly about using the Collall glue. There is a little smell to it because it's not a water glue, it's a solvent glue. I find it very mild. To be honest, I don't even notice the smell, but different people do. So, you know, I mightn't notice anything, but you might find it very strong. Someone else might find it hardly any smell at all. I have a big craft room that I'm in, so there's plenty of ventilation, but I do find it a really good adhesive for when you want your product or your crafty piece to be solid, to be stiff, and that's why I use it. So I'm putting down my little strips. You see there, I put down one after I had glued down my pattern paper, and really I should have done that before I glued it down, but I could still nip in my little scissors there and snip off the ends pieces. So now we can put the top piece down, and again I'm just allowing that 1/8 of an inch border all around. So I have my two little pieces that I have fussy cut out. That third piece, I did think about putting it on the top right hand corner, and then I thought I might put it on the inside, but for a finish I won't use it. I just use the two circles. I want to cut off a piece on this bigger circle that I fussy cut out, so I have a nice straight edge to the edge of the matte layer, but I needed to take a little bit more off so that it covers up where our orange strips end. Once I've that done, then I'm putting a little bit of foam tape, and this is a slim foam tape on the second little circle. Now I should have waited, and if you're doing this, wait, don't put that circle down. I wouldn't put any of the circles down actually. What I would do here, and what you see me doing here, is I'm stamping smile. I think what I should have done was stamped the smile going the whole way across the top and then put down my two circles. But I have to say I do like it with just the 3 smiles on there, and sure, it was very easy. I just wedged up the foam tape, put my smile down, and then I put a little liquid glue on the foam tape so that the circle would stick down. So inside now, I'm just going to stamp my sentiment. It's your birthday, congratulations. I think this card is a great card for a masculine make. I mean, it can go to male or female, but I just think, you know, this would be an easy one to pick out if I wanted to send it to a guy. So now we're moving on to card 3, and this is our last card. My black cardstock measures 11 by 8 1/4, and on the 11-inch side I've scored it at 1.5, 3.5, 7.5 and 9.5. Now I'm going to burnish those folds. I'm just folding them over by hand, but I will go back and burnish those using my bone folder so that I get a nice crease on those, nice and crisp, and it will allow the card to sit better. But this is a DL size when the card is closed like this. If we open it up, which you'll see now, if we were to put a piece across the bottom, it would make a bridge fold card. But I just think this is so cool, you know, to have it go into a 4 1/4 by 8.5 envelope. I just think that would be so cool. Okay, so next we need some mats and layers, and my mats are going to be in white. These two pieces that I have here, they measure 8 by 1 1/4, and we'll need 2 of those. Then I have 4 mats, and we're going to need 4 of these measuring 1 3/4 by 8 inches. 2 of them will sit under our smaller ones like so. So we'll have 2 there, and then 2 will go inside like so. Then we need 1 piece for the inside in the middle, and that piece measures 3 3/4 by 8 inches. And we can stamp a sentiment or die cut a sentiment and put it in there, and gives us loads of room to write a message. For this card, I'm making a belly band. You don't need to. This piece is 9.5 by 2. My white piece is 9.5 by 1 3/4, and I'm going to wrap them around the card. These 2 pieces here, my black one measures 3.5 by 4. My white piece measures 3.25 by 3 3/4, and that's for the front of the belly band. So I used white cardstock for my matte layer because I want to stamp out my pattern paper myself, and I'm using the big stamp that came in the kit. Now it's not long enough to fill in the whole length, so I'm just matching it up as best I can, and I'm filling in some of the open circles using the smaller round stamp that came in one of the stamp sets. They don't have to match particularly perfectly. I'm not matching them up great. Where there's any kind of open circles, I'm just going to take a black fine liner pen and close them in. You can see there on that bottom one, the 2 circles that meet. I'm just going to put a little few dots in there and a couple of swirls in there, similar to what's coming off from the stamp, and it looks great. I mean, hubby is an engineer. He's very particular. He had a look at this card. It's actually his favorite of the 3, and he thought it was fab. He loved my little bit of noodling that I did on it as well. Yeah, so I mean, I will add some to the bigger piece that goes in the center, but you can see there I'm just filling in some of the little bits with tiny circles, and you know, just giving it a bit of a finished look, and using that smaller stamp that has the dots and the oh, what's that, like the yin and the yang sign in it. But yeah, and I enjoyed this. I was just stamping away. I had YouTube on in the background, playing away, and yeah, I could have kept going. I thought to myself, and I said it to hubby, wouldn't this be a great card to give to someone with a little pack of coloring pencils? Because I could happily sit down and color in all these little circles and things. So I thought, yeah, you know, and hubby thought that was a pretty good idea as well. So, you know, just an idea. But I know if I was given this card, I'd get the coloring pencils out and I'd be coloring it all in. But that's just me. Anyway, this is the centerpiece. I've just finished off along the top there. I'm adding some little dashes and little circles and everything, just to give it a finished kind of look to the top there. So that's all my panels finished now. I just need to do for my belly band for the sentiment that I'm going to put on. And I'm sorry you're off the screen there. I do move it up. I'm using the long, thin stamps, and I thought this one looked very similar to what's going on my handmade pattern paper. Again, I've zoomed in so you can have a better look at what I'm doing, but that's just to embellish the front piece that's going on our belly band. So now it's just adding in our little panels onto our card base, and I do love the look of this card. Again, I think it's a masculine looking card. Like I said, it could go to a female as well, but I just think it's really nice to have some masculine looking cards, or you know, that aren't flowery and pink and girly in our stash to have. So I love that when I get a kit or when I get some new products for crafting with, that I'm making both, you know, cards that can go to a guy or a girl. So I've die cut out some sentiments. I put the for you onto the panel for our belly band, and I've put the happy birthday on the inside of our card. The die cuts that I'm using there, they're a die set from Love from Lizi, and I'll leave links to what I can down below in the description for you. If there's something that I ever use in a video and I don't have links for it, please do leave a comment below. I do answer the comments pretty quickly, and if I see there's something in particular that you want that I haven't listed, I'll happily, you know, go off and have a noodle around and see if I can find it for you. But there you go, that's our third card, our DL card, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'm going to leave you with some images of the cards we've made using the Papercraft Society Box 31, inspired by the lovely creator Lou Withers. If you liked my video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, and if you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. If not, you might click on that subscribe button and hit the bell icon as well. That way you'll be notified each time I post a new video. So until next time, friends, thanks for watching, stay safe, and bye for now.